There comes a quiet moment for many women after 50 when they look in the mirror and notice something has changed. Not dramatically, not overnight, but subtly. Hair that once felt dense now feels lighter between the fingers. Shine that once came naturally now seems harder to hold on to. And the world quickly offers explanations, age, hormones, genetics, as if decline is inevitable and irreversible. But the human body does not age in silence. It communicates. Every thinning strand, every fragile root is information. And hair, perhaps more than we realize, is a reflection of how deeply the body is being nourished, not just fed, but supported. Hair follicles are living structures. They respond to circulation, to inflammation, to the quality of fats that reach them. Oils are not simply beauty products, they are biological messengers. Some oils calm inflammation, carry fat-soluble nutrients, and restore the protective lipid layer of the scalp. Others quietly disrupt this balance, clog follicles, oxidize easily, and create an environment where hair struggles to survive. After 50, the scalp becomes more sensitive, circulation slows, and hormonal shifts change how oils are processed. What once worked may now work against you. This is not about trends or cosmetic promises. It is about understanding which oils cooperate with the body and which silently exhaust it. When you learn to choose oils with wisdom rather than habit, hair does not merely look better. It behaves differently. It anchors, it strengthens, it returns to its natural rhythm of growth. And that is what we are here to explore. After the age of 50, hair becomes far less forgiving because the body itself begins to conserve energy. The follicles that once received an abundant supply of oxygen, minerals, and hormones now operate in a more cautious state. This is not failure, it is adaptation. Circulation naturally slows with age, especially to peripheral areas like the scalp. And when blood flow slows, follicles receive weaker signals to stay active. Hair growth is not a priority function for survival, so unless the environment clearly supports it, the body quietly redirects resources elsewhere. This is why stimulation alone rarely works. What the follicle needs is reassurance at a cellular level that conditions are safe enough to invest energy in growth again. Natural oils that truly revive hair work because they influence this environment rather than fighting against biology. Coconut oil is often misunderstood as a surface conditioner, but its structure allows it to penetrate the hair shaft and interact with proteins inside. After 50, hair protein loss accelerates, leading to fragility and thinning. By reducing this loss, coconut oil helps existing strands survive longer, which alone can noticeably improve thickness. More importantly, it creates a calmer scalp environment by reducing microbial imbalance, which is common as sebum production declines with age. A calmer scalp means less inflammatory signaling, and inflammation is one of the quietest reasons follicles shut down prematurely. Castor oil works through a different, but equally important pathway. One of the biggest challenges for aging follicles is weak circulation. The follicle is alive, and like any living tissue, it responds to blood flow. Castor oil contains fatty acids that gently stimulate circulation when massaged into the scalp. This is not an aggressive stimulation, but a supportive one, encouraging blood vessels to deliver nutrients more efficiently. When circulation improves even slightly, follicles receive clearer metabolic signals, and dormant follicles may re-enter the growth phase not because they were forced, but because the environment finally supports it. Olive oil plays a subtler role that is often overlooked. With age, the scalp loses elasticity, becoming tighter and less responsive. This mechanical stiffness restricts blood flow and nerve signaling. Olive oil, rich in oleic acid and antioxidant compounds, softens the scalp tissue and improves flexibility. This allows vessels to expand and contract more easily, supporting nutrient delivery. Antioxidants further protect follicle cells from oxidative stress, which accumulates over decades and quietly damages cellular machinery. When oxidative stress decreases, follicles are less likely to shrink, a process known as follicular miniaturization that leads to visibly thinner hair. What connects these oils is not trend or tradition, but biology. They do not promise instant growth. Instead, they restore communication between the scalp and the follicle. Hair after 50 does not need to be pushed, it needs to be invited. Oils that revive hair function like a gentle conversation with the body, signaling safety, nourishment, and balance. Over time, follicles respond by staying active longer, producing stronger strands and shedding less aggressively. Thickness returns not because new hair is magically created, but because existing hair is allowed to complete its natural life cycle. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. Small, regular application combined with gentle massage encourages lymphatic drainage, reduces stagnation, and improves nutrient exchange. The scalp begins to behave like healthy skin again rather than stressed tissue. Hair responds to this shift with resilience. When women understand that hair revival is rooted in circulation, inflammation control, and cellular nourishment, oils stop being cosmetic products and become tools of biological support, working with the body's intelligence rather than against it. As women move beyond 50, one of the least discussed causes of hair thinning is not what is missing, but what is unknowingly interfering with the scalp's natural rhythm. Certain oils, often marketed as nourishing or beautifying, quietly disrupt the biological balance that aging hair desperately needs. These oils do not cause immediate damage, which is why they are trusted for years, but their long-term effects slowly weaken follicles, disturb scalp chemistry, and accelerate thinning in ways that feel mysterious and frustrating. Mineral oil is one of the most common examples. It feels smooth, creates instant shine, and gives the illusion of moisture, but biologically it does the opposite of what mature hair requires. Mineral oil is not food for the scalp, it is inert. When applied repeatedly, it forms a coating that blocks oxygen exchange at the surface of the skin. Hair follicles rely on oxygen just as much as they rely on nutrients. As oxygen diffusion decreases, follicle metabolism slows and growth signals weaken. Over time, follicles enter longer resting phases, shedding increases and regrowth becomes inconsistent. The hair does not fall out suddenly, it simply stops returning with the same strength. Another category that quietly damages aging hair is heavily refined vegetable oils used in many cosmetic blends. These oils are stripped of antioxidants during processing, leaving behind unstable fats that oxidize easily. When oxidized oils sit on the scalp, they trigger low-grade inflammation. This inflammation is not felt as pain or itching at first. Instead, it alters the immune environment around the follicle. The body begins to treat the follicle as a low-priority structure, shortening the growth phase and shrinking the hair shaft over time. This is one of the reasons hair may appear finer even when the number of strands seems unchanged. Essential oils, when misused, can also become problematic after 50. While certain essential oils have therapeutic value, concentrated or frequent application can overwhelm aging skin. With age, the scalp's barrier function weakens, making it more sensitive to chemical stress. Strong essential oils can irritate nerve endings and trigger stress responses in the skin, increasing cortisol signaling locally. Cortisol is a hair growth inhibitor. When the scalp remains in a state of subtle stress, follicles conserve energy and delay growth. What was once stimulating in youth becomes suppressive in later years. Synthetic fragrance oils present another hidden issue. These oils are designed for scent, not nourishment. They often contain compounds that interfere with hormonal signaling in the skin. Hair follicles are hormonally sensitive structures, especially in women over 50, when estrogen levels decline. Any additional disruption to hormonal balance can push follicles further into dormancy. The result is increased shedding during brushing or washing, slower regrowth, and uneven density across the scalp. What makes these oils particularly damaging is their cumulative effect. Each application feels harmless, even beneficial, but over months and years, the scalp becomes congested, inflamed, and metabolically sluggish. Blood flow reduces, lymphatic drainage slows, and cellular waste accumulates around follicles. The body interprets this environment as unfavorable for growth. Hair thinning in this context is not a disease but a protective response. Understanding this changes how hair care is approached. It becomes less about adding more products and more about removing obstacles to natural function. When damaging oils are eliminated, the scalp begins to breathe again. Inflammation gradually subsides, circulation improves, and follicles receive clearer biological signals. Hair responds not with sudden growth, but with stability. Shedding slows, strands feel stronger, and density loss begins to plateau. Hair after 50 is deeply connected to the scalp's internal environment. Oils that damage hair do so because they interfere with oxygen, circulation, hormone signaling, and immune balance. Once these interferences are removed, the body often does the rest on its own, quietly restoring order where confusion once existed as women move past 50. The scalp no longer responds to care in the way it once did, not because it has failed, but because its needs have become more specific and more intelligent. At this stage of life, hair revival depends less on stimulation and more on cooperation with biology. Certain natural oils work not by forcing growth, but by restoring conditions in which growth feels safe and supported again. These oils function as biological messengers, delivering information to the scalp rather than simply coating the hair shaft. One of the most powerful actions of restorative oils is their ability to improve microcirculation. Aging reduces blood flow to the scalp, which means fewer nutrients, less oxygen, and slower cellular repair. Oils rich in monounsaturated fats and natural antioxidants gently warm the tissue, encouraging capillaries to open. As circulation improves, follicles receive glucose, amino acids, and minerals more efficiently. This does not cause sudden hair growth, but it lengthens the growth phase, allowing each strand to remain anchored longer before shedding. Another critical function of nourishing oils is lipid replacement. The scalp produces less sebum with age, leading to dryness, tightness, and vulnerability. Without adequate natural oils, the scalp becomes inflamed at a microscopic level. Inflammation sends a message of danger to hair follicles, signaling them to reduce activity. Oils that closely resemble human sebum help rebuild the scalp's protective barrier. When the barrier is restored, moisture is retained, nerve endings calm, and inflammatory signals decrease. Follicles interpret this as stability, which encourages stronger anchoring and thicker strands. Certain oils also support mitochondrial health within the follicle. Mitochondria are the energy centers of cells, and hair growth is an energy-intensive process. As women age, mitochondrial efficiency declines, reducing the energy available for keratin production. Oils containing polyphenols and fat-soluble vitamins protect mitochondria from oxidative stress. This protection preserves energy output, allowing follicles to maintain normal function longer. Hair does not grow faster, but it grows more completely, producing a fuller diameter with each cycle. Hormonal sensitivity is another area where restorative oils quietly help. After 50, declining estrogen affects hair density and elasticity. Some natural oils contain plant compounds that gently modulate hormone receptors in the skin. They do not replace hormones, but they soften the shock of hormonal withdrawal. By stabilizing receptor activity, these oils prevent abrupt shifts in follicle behavior. Hair becomes less reactive to stress, illness, or seasonal changes, maintaining consistency instead of unpredictable shedding. The nervous system also plays a role in hair revival. The scalp is rich in sensory nerves that communicate stress levels to the body. Oils with calming aromatic compounds reduce sympathetic nervous system activity locally. This lowers cortisol signaling in the scalp, which is essential because cortisol shortens the hair growth phase. When stress signaling decreases, follicles are permitted to remain active longer, producing hair that feels stronger and more resilient. What makes these oils truly restorative is not their immediate cosmetic effect, but their cumulative influence on the scalp's internal environment. With consistent, gentle use, inflammation decreases, circulation stabilizes, energy production improves, and hormonal sensitivity softens. The scalp becomes a place where hair is welcomed rather than resisted. Over time, shedding slows, breakage reduces, and density loss becomes less aggressive. Hair revival after 50 is not about reversal, but about respect for the body's changing intelligence. Oils that revive hair do so because they align with biology rather than override it. They nourish without congestion, stimulate without irritation, and protect without suffocation. When the scalp senses this harmony, it responds in the only way it knows how, by holding onto hair more firmly and producing strands with renewed substance and vitality. As women age, one of the most misunderstood aspects of hair care is the quiet harm caused by certain oils that appear nourishing on the surface but interfere with scalp biology underneath. These oils are often praised for shine and smoothness, yet their molecular structure and behavior can disrupt the very processes that aging follicles depend on for survival. After 50, the scalp becomes less forgiving, and substances that once seemed harmless can gradually create conditions that thin hair rather than protect it. One of the primary issues with damaging oils is occlusion. Heavy, highly saturated or overly refined oils tend to sit on the scalp rather than integrate with it. Instead of absorbing into the lipid layer, they form a film that blocks normal respiration of the skin. The scalp, like all living tissue, requires oxygen exchange. When pores are consistently coated, micro-oxygen deprivation occurs. Hair follicles interpret this as environmental stress and respond by shortening the growth phase. Over time, hairs emerge finer, weaker, and more prone to shedding. Another subtle problem arises from residue accumulation. Oils that do not break down easily attract dust, dead skin cells, and environmental pollutants. This creates a sticky matrix on the scalp that disrupts its microbiome. A healthy scalp hosts beneficial microorganisms that regulate inflammation and protect against pathogens. When heavy oils alter this balance, opportunistic microbes increase, triggering low-grade inflammation. This inflammation is often invisible, but follicles sense it clearly, responding with reduced activity and weaker attachment to the scalp. Refined oils can also interfere with nutrient signaling. Many commercial oils are stripped of their natural antioxidants and vitamins during processing. What remains is often an inert fat that provides slip but no biological communication. Worse, these oils can dilute or block the action of the scalp's remaining natural sebum. Sebum is not waste. It is a signaling substance that carries information about hydration, immunity, and repair. When diluted or displaced, follicles lose access to critical regulatory cues, leading to confusion in the growth cycle. Heat sensitivity is another overlooked factor. Some oils oxidize rapidly when exposed to warmth, sunlight, or friction. Oxidized oils generate free radicals on the scalp surface. Free radicals damage cellular membranes and mitochondrial DNA within follicle cells. For women over 50 whose antioxidant defenses are already reduced, this oxidative stress accelerates follicle aging. Hair shafts become brittle, elasticity decreases, and breakage increases even if shedding appears unchanged. Hormonal vulnerability also magnifies the impact of the wrong oils. Postmenopausal scalp tissue is more sensitive to androgen activity. Certain oils may amplify this sensitivity by increasing scalp temperature or altering enzyme activity involved in hormone conversion. This does not create hormonal imbalance, but it intensifies follicle response to existing shifts. The result is gradual miniaturization, where each new hair grows thinner than the last until density visibly declines. Frequent oiling with unsuitable products can also disrupt mechanical balance. Heavy oils weigh hair down at the root, increasing tension on follicles already weakened by age-related collagen loss. This constant micro-pull contributes to traction like stress. Over time, follicles adapt by releasing hair earlier to protect themselves. The loss feels mysterious because it happens slowly and without pain, yet it is a protective response to ongoing strain. What makes these oils particularly damaging is that their effects are cumulative rather than immediate. There is no sudden irritation, no dramatic fallout, only a gradual decline that is often blamed on aging alone. In reality, the scalp is responding logically to an environment that feels congested, inflamed, and energetically inefficient. Hair does not disappear out of neglect, but out of intelligent retreat. Understanding this changes the approach to hair care after 50. Oils must be judged not by shine or softness, but by their interaction with living tissue. The scalp does not need coating, masking, or weight. It needs clarity, oxygen balance, and communication. When oils interfere with these principles, hair thinning becomes a predictable outcome rather than a mystery, and removing the obstacle often allows the body to quietly stabilize what it still has, preserving density, strength, and integrity for longer than expected. The recovery of hair health after 50 is less about adding more products and more about restoring biological trust between the scalp and the body. Hair follicles are not passive structures. They are sensory organs that respond to blood flow, nutrient availability, inflammation signals, and mechanical stress. When the scalp environment becomes supportive again, follicles do not need stimulation or force. They simply resume the work they were designed to do. This is why choosing the right oils and using them correctly can make a meaningful difference without aggressive intervention. Beneficial oils behave more like messengers than coatings. Their fatty acid profiles resemble the scalp's natural lipid layer, allowing them to integrate rather than suffocate. When absorbed properly, they support barrier repair, reduce micro-inflammation, and improve circulation at the follicular level. Improved circulation does not mean heat or tingling. It means efficient delivery of oxygen and micronutrients to the hair root. Over time, this improves the length of the growth phase, allowing hairs to mature fully instead of exiting early. The timing and frequency of oil use also matter more with age. The aging scalp has a slower turnover rate, meaning buildup accumulates faster and clears more slowly. Oils that are beneficial in small, infrequent amounts can become counterproductive when applied too often. The scalp responds best to rhythmic care that mirrors natural cycles of rest and renewal. Gentle application followed by thorough cleansing respects this rhythm and prevents stagnation that quietly undermines follicle activity. Massage plays a supporting but often misunderstood role. Aggressive rubbing increases inflammation and mechanical stress, especially when collagen and elastin are already reduced. Light. Intentional pressure encourages lymphatic drainage and blood flow without triggering defensive responses. The goal is not stimulation through force, but communication through gentle movement. When paired with suitable oils, this creates an environment where follicles feel supported rather than challenged. Nutrition and oil choice are inseparable in this process. External oils can only assist what the body is capable of sustaining internally. Hair follicles prioritize survival, not beauty, and when nutrients are scarce, they divert resources elsewhere. Oils that reduce inflammation and oxidative stress help preserve internal nutrients for growth rather than repair. This subtle conservation effect is often overlooked, yet it explains why some women notice gradual improvement months after changing their approach, even without dramatic changes in shedding. Psychological stress also alters scalp chemistry. Chronic stress increases cortisol, which reduces blood flow to peripheral tissues, including the scalp. Certain oils have mild calming effects on the nervous system through scent and skin interaction. This does not act as treatment, but it lowers background stress signals that follicles detect. When stress messaging decreases, follicles are less likely to enter protective shutdown modes that shorten the growth cycle. Consistency matters more than intensity. Hair growth operates on long biological timelines, and follicles respond to stable environments, not sudden corrections. Oils that gently support the scalp over weeks and months encourage follicles to remain active rather than cycling out prematurely. This slow stabilization often feels unimpressive at first, yet it is the mechanism behind sustained thickness rather than temporary cosmetic improvement. What is most important to understand is that aging hair does not need to be fixed, awakened, or forced into youthfulness. It needs conditions that allow it to function without constant interference. When damaging oils are removed and supportive ones are used sparingly and intelligently, the scalp regains clarity. In that clarity, follicles make their own decisions based on improved signals, circulation, and reduced stress, gradually producing hair that feels stronger, denser, and more resilient, not because it has been manipulated, but because it has been allowed to operate under conditions that favor repair and continuity. If you found these tips helpful for healthy, strong hair, don't forget to subscribe to Ageless Health Insight for more insightful and practical health and beauty advice for every stage of life.